Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday, hump day to you. It's Will I Am, the Bowtie Sober Guy, coming at you live. Excited to be here and glad to have you joining me. As I had mentioned, I am going to talk about living in the fog, and this is something I came up with, a few months ago. It was very interesting, I was just thinking, and it's actually very similar to Bowtie. Living, where Bowtie is an acrostic, fog is also an acrostic or an acronym. I don't even know what the difference is, quite honestly. But living in the fog, it's very interesting. We as people a lot of times will live in the fog and not even know it, and you're probably sitting there going, "What is the fog? What is the fog? What is the fog?" Well, first of all, I'll just explain. Basically, I came up with it. When we meet each other out on the street, or we're at church, or we're at work, or wherever it is, right? What's one of the first things we say to each other, even on the phone, right? "Hey, how are you?" Right? That's what we say. What are some of those common answers that we ourselves say or other people tell us? "I am fine," "I am okay," or "I am good." That's the fog. We're fine, okay, or good. And I'm not saying we can't be fine, okay, or good, because there's real truth in that, right? But the reasoning for living in the fog is how many of us that's our natural inclination is, number one, the natural inclination is just say, "How are you?" Well, do we ever really listen to the answer? And then secondly, if we're being asked that question, how truthful, how authentic, how real are we being with our answer? "How you doing today?" "I'm fine." "I'm just okay." "I'm good." Right? We're living in the fog. And the fog is something that it's very similar to a mask, right? It can hide us. We can hide behind it by using those very simple words. And really for two reasons. One is it's really simple for us to use those words. But the other is that we know that a lot of times when people ask that, they're just platitudes. They're just asking us to ask us and to be nice and polite, right? But how many of us, when we ask someone else, really, really want to hear the answer? And that's what I want to talk about tonight, is how can we be authentic in our relationships when it comes to responding, not only ourselves and being true and real with how we respond, because sometimes we can't. Sometimes the other person that's asking us just doesn't have the ability to respond to really how we're doing. And, I've had, just even in the last couple hours on Facebook, there's been a couple big things that have happened that I just feel horrible for some things that people are going through. And, if I were to ask them, they're good friends, so if I ask them, "How are you doing?" they're not going to say I'm fine, okay, or good. And if they do, it's because I know them and I know that there's probably something else. So how do we respond to that as well? And so are you living in the fog? Are you letting other people live in the fog? Or are you being open, vulnerable, and want to really be inviting to let other people come in and share with where they're at? I have a funny thing that I'll do. I don't do it all the time, but I've done it a lot. Is to see if people are reacting and if they really care, if they're just asking me the question, right? Is someone will say, "Hey, Will, how you doing?" And I will turn to them and I'll look at them with a big smile on my face and I'll go, "You know what? I am really shitty, but thanks for asking." And I gotta tell you, it takes everybody off guard. Because what are they used to hearing? Right? We're all used to hearing it. "I'm fine, I'm okay, or I'm good." And that's living in the fog. And the fog is something, it can creep up on us. We can, like I said, we can hide in it. We can not be seen. We can be hidden somewhere else, kind of behind this layer, this mask that we choose to live in called fine, okay, or good. And so, my challenge to everyone is how do we change that? How do we change ourselves so that, number one, we're in relationships where we can actually share with really what's going on? and be okay with sharing and having those people around us, because I think this is so extremely important. The community of people that we build around us that are supportive, that are loving, that won't take my crap by me saying I'm fine, okay, or good, and really want to know how, I challenge you, build that community. Find those people, those ones that will listen, but also become one of those for others. Become that person when you run into someone and you ask them, hey, how's it going today? And they give you the pat answer, I'm fine, okay, or good. Do you accept that? And maybe they are. And again, we can live there. That's okay. Those aren't wrong feelings, because there are days that I am just fine. Today was a day that I was a little more than okay. But that was okay, and I knew why, and I worked through that, and I talked to people, and part of my community and people that I know and the relationships I have, I was able to talk about those things, to share with why was it that I was there in that place. And you know what, I'm not saying we all run around saying that we're stupendous and miraculous and wonderful, and because that's not real either. But I think we have to be careful in living in this world where we just say, I'm fine, I'm okay, or I'm good. And that we also are not open to others really sharing that. And so why is it that we do that? Why is it that when we're in even good, healthy relationships, why is it that someone's asked me, they'll come up and say, hey, Will, how you doing? And I'll respond, oh, it's just, it's natural, I'm fine. Why is it that we do that? And I think there's a few different reasons, and I think a lot of it is our internal dialogue, the things that we maybe don't even know that we think about it, but I think are really the reasons that we do it. One of them is that I think a lot of us feel like nobody really cares. If I'm having a really crappy day, nobody really cares. And so why should I tell them anyways? Because it's not their problem, it's my problem. And that's where I think that these strong, authentic, beautiful relationships can grow, because when we have those kinds of relationships where we can share those deeper and those heartfelt conversations with each other, we get to live outside of the fog. And those are the relationships that bring us to that joy, serenity, and peace that I talk a lot about in Bowtie Living. So we don't have to live in this foggy place. But it's important for us to understand, what are those internal dialogues? What are those things that are keeping us from wanting to share those relationships? And maybe you just don't have that kind of a relationship, and I would encourage you, find those people, have those conversations. Another one is maybe they're just being polite. That's just us as a society being polite. And they don't really want to know how I feel. And again, that goes back to me internalizing what someone else is feeling. And that's not fair. That's not fair to me. That's certainly not fair to them, because now I'm telling them how they're feeling. Well, I don't have that power. No one has that power. Only they have that power to know how they're feeling. And again, that's where those open communications, those wonderful, deep, meaningful relationships can really occur, is when we're not living in that fog and we remove those masks. And we get out there and we let the sun shine down on us together in those relationships. Well, hey, Brent, how are you? Jumping on, I love it. Good to see you. It's been a long time, a really, really long time. So thanks for joining me here on Bowtie Living. So one of the other things that I really, really struggle with, and it kind of goes to the fact no one's going to care, I don't really matter, is I really minimized how I felt and thought less of me because of something that maybe I was going through and something that I was feeling. I've shared a little bit about, I had a number of years where I had a lot of depression going on in my life. And I went to counseling and I took medication and I did these things. But it was one of those things where, in my heart and in my head, I thought, I'm better than this. I'm stronger. I should be. Not that I am. I should be stronger than this. I shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't have anyone else bear this burden that I'm bearing. And again, I truly believe that if you have those authentic, those real, open, honest, vulnerable relationships, those other people want to walk through that with you. They want to lighten that load. And as you know, I'm a believer, and I truly, and I've experienced it, know that God can help me with those things too. But God works through people. He works through the people that I know all the time. I had a couple conversations today where I know that the things that they shared with me, they were directly channeled from God through them. And it was because I was able to share with them some things that are going on and some things that were happening that I had to work through, but I didn't have to do it alone. And I've been able to build that community around me with those people. And I got to tell you, it doesn't, again, you know, it doesn't mean every day is a rainbow filled with rainbows and unicorns and pots of gold and all these kinds of things. All it means is that I am there and I'm supported and I'm loved and I can feel that. Because, you know, I for a long, long time minimized how I felt because I didn't think I was worthy enough for someone else to want to carry that burden. Because I thought I had to do it all. And that's not the case. I'm sure a lot of you people that have been on and watching me have those relationships, and that's so awesome. Because you can walk people through, and maybe you've had those people in your lives where you had to walk through something. And you had been living in the fog, and then you were able to shine the light on that and get out of that fog, and it wasn't okay to be fine, okay, and good. You needed to get through to the other side so that you could let go of that fog and let it roll off. You know, that's one of the cool things when you think about really what fog is. Fog is very interesting because it kind of comes in, it settles, but then once the sun comes out, the fog burns away. And that's what's so great about these kinds of relationships is that we actually can surround ourselves with that community of people. And that's really exciting. And I feel very blessed in the fact that I've been able to do that over the last few years. I've been able to surround myself with those people. And that when I come across something that wants to put me in the fog, and all I'm going to do when somebody asks me how I'm doing is I'm going to respond, just like we all do in those times, I'm fine, I'm okay, or I'm good. Well, what if you're not? What if you're not and you just want to share that? And you know what, I'll open this up. If you're in that place and you need to talk, please reach out to me. I am so happy to pick up the phone, jump on the phone, listen to what's going on, and dig into it and then try to understand it. And you know what, if it's not, I don't have the answers, but you know what I have found and what I have learned is that sharing that with someone else that's in a caring, nurturing, understanding environment, a lot of that fog lifts itself and just goes away. And it's pretty crazy. I had that experience last night. Again, I had some things happen later yesterday, and it kind of put me in a weird place. And I was able to use the things that I've learned to go through and really change the way I was looking at that and lift that fog, get rid of that fog, and really just let it go. And I didn't have to live there anymore. And that's such a freeing feeling. So we have to get out of ourselves when we think that nobody else cares. Because I don't believe that. I think the people that have jumped on and are watching right now and have jumped on earlier, I think these are the people that care and they want to have these relationships. They're looking for that, not only for themselves, but also to be that for other people. And that brings me to this last little point is really how do we take that understanding of living in the fog and how do we be there for other people, other relationships? Instead of just, allowing people, and that's not the right word, but having people tell us they're fine, okay, and good, can you be that caring, compassionate, understanding person that puts aside your stuff? Because we all have it. We all have it. We all have stuff, crap, whatever you want to call it. We all have it. And can you put that aside? And can you then be there for that person? Because I believe with all of my heart that when you do that, you will get so much more than that person may ever get. Not that you go into it with that kind of attitude, But it's amazing. There's a thing, and I'll do a Facebook Live post on this that I think is really cool, and it's really the selfish reason to be unselfish. And there's a guy, I think he's in Canada, he's some doctor or something that has done some work on this. He has a really scientific term for it, and it's called altruistic egoism. But what's interesting is, and I've shared a lot on Facebook Live about one of my issues is being selfish and self-centered. But what he talks about and what I've learned is when we give of ourselves to others, we get so much more. Like, you guys have no idea how much I get out of doing these Facebook Live. You have no idea. It's amazing. It actually gives me such peace, joy, and serenity just to be able to share these things with you. So my challenge to you is not only be real and authentic with others when they ask, hey, how's it going? And don't do it in, where you break down right in front of them or anything like that, unless you're going to. I mean, if you're in that place, please do. But really be authentic with what's going on and do it with the right people. Create that family, that group, that community around you of those individuals. And then secondly, do it for others. Man, it's amazing when you get to walk with someone else through whatever kind of a journey they're going through. And to hold their hand through that and walk with them. And as I mentioned, I'm a very strong believer, and I do know that regardless of who else is with them, God is with them and walking with them. And will be there and will help them. But again, I also believe that God works through people. And he can work through each and every one of us in small ways and in big ways. But it doesn't matter because we can be there for others. And that changes the dialogue. Now, all of a sudden now when someone asks you how you're doing, you can be honest. Again, it's not going to be, if you're at a football game and someone asks you, you may be fine, okay, or good. But in relationships, really strong, solid, personal, deep relationships, we can't just be fine, okay, or good. We can, but we're not going to get anywhere. We're not going to see that growth that I think is in all of us and we all can have. And that growth gets us to living in peace, joy, serenity, happiness, contentment. I love that word, contentment. It's something I have to deal with all the time. I struggle with that. But being in these authentic relationships really helps me be able to do that. Not only with surrounding myself with people that I know can support me, but being that support for others as well. And it's amazing how a relationship can flourish in that kind of an environment. And as I mentioned, please, I've got an announcement that I'm going to make tomorrow. I don't know that it's going to be a Facebook Live or a Facebook post. Not sure exactly what it's going to be yet. But more information will be coming on that, of course, tomorrow. But in the meantime, please feel free. Reach out to me. If you don't have those relationships or you're just starting this journey and you're not sure where to turn, and you're not sure how to do it, and there's some fear there, whatever it might be, please. I am always willing to have those conversations and walk you through whatever it is and just listen. Being here, a lot of times that's what we need, is we just need a good ear and someone that'll listen. And so my challenge is, don't stay in the fog. Get out of the fog and being, fine, okay, and good. There are times for that. Absolutely. There are definitely times for that. But just make sure you're aware of really where you're at. And that if it's a great place, awesome. Take that and share it with someone else and help them get into that same great place. And if it's not such a great place, find that community. Get hooked up to that community. Get hooked into those people that you know that you can call. And if that's me, great, call me. Or reach out on Facebook and I'll private message you my phone number. Those that are local, a lot of you already have it. But please, feel free. And we don't have to, at all, live in the fog. We can have the sun shining, and even when the sun's shining, there's not always rainbows, but that's okay because we don't have to stay in the fog. So that is it for tonight. Although I do have 2 quotes. I think I forgot the other night to give you guys a couple quotes. So I do have 2 quotes tonight. And it's actually interesting. One is a Benjamin Franklin quote, and the other is a Brene Brown quote. You've all probably heard of Brene Brown. I know everybody's heard of Benjamin Franklin. But Brene Brown says, she's talking about authenticity, and she says, it's hard to practice compassion when we're struggling with our own authenticity or when our own worthiness is off balance. So what she's saying is when we're in the fog, it's very hard to show compassion to others. So that's why it's important for us to have that community around us as well, so that we can then take that and share it with others. And that's the coolest part about this, about not living in the fog. And the Ben Franklin this is so great. Half a truth is really a lie. Think about that. Half a truth is, well, he says half a truth is often a great lie, but it is true. Half a truth is not the truth. It's a lie. So are we being truthful with ourselves, and then are we being truthful and honest with others? And we want to live that way. When we do those things, we don't have to live in the fog. So I encourage you, find that group, get plugged into some sort of a community, whether it's your church, whether it's at work, friends, whatever it might be. There's all kinds of ways to do it. And in the meantime, if there's something that's going on and you're struggling with something or you want to talk about something, please feel free to reach out to me. And like I said, I'll be sharing some information tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. Until then, it's Will I Am, the Bowtie Sober Guy. Peace out.